In the winter of 1948, the people of Clearwater, Florida woke up to something bizarre. Giant three-toed footprints had been left behind by some sort of creature that had, based on the trail of imprints left behind, walked out of the ocean, onto the sandy beach, then back out to the sea. The tracks were big, 14 inches long and 11 inches wide. Whatever had left them appeared to be two-legged and took 4 to 6 foot span strides along 2 miles of beach before making its way back to the water. Over the next few weeks, more giant footprints showed up on nearby beaches and along the Suwannee River, and the local police station was getting flooded with sightings and requests for information.
This is only a test.
There was enough of a brouhaha caused in the sleepy little community that the famed naturalist Ivan T. Sanderson came to town to launch a full investigation. Sanderson finished his investigation and would eventually publish his findings in his 1969 book titled More Things, in which he described not only performing careful experiments on the footprints to ensure they couldn't possibly have been created by humans as a hoax, but also hearing several eyewitness accounts of the monster itself. For example, there had been a couple who had been doing some 1940s-style making out in the back of a car who had seen something terrible stomp out of the sea. Their teenage lust instantly replaced by fear, they ran to the nearest police station to demand a rifle so that they could return to the scene and kill the monster. 2 men had been out for a swim when they saw a 15-foot-long creature bobbing in the waves with a heavy blunt head and a long blunt tail.
Oh my god.
A couple from Milwaukee who had rented a rowboat to do some fishing got more than their money's worth when they saw an enormous gray animal with a head like a rhinoceros, thick short legs with huge feet, and 2 flippers hanging from its narrow shoulders.
This would never happen in Milwaukee.
And not only that, but Sanderson himself claimed that while flying over the area in a small plane, he saw a massive creature roiling about on the surface of the water. Based on these reports and the forensic evidence of the footprints, Sanderson came to a startling conclusion. The animal that was terrorizing Clearwater, Florida wasn't a dinosaur or some kind of Loch Ness monster-style sea serpent. It was, in fact, a 15-foot-tall penguin. But 20 years after Sanderson published his book, new evidence was revealed to cast doubt on his findings. A local man named Tony Signorini came forward in 1988 with a pair of lead shoes, the size and shape of the Clearwater prints. He admitted that he and fellow prankster Al Williams had built the shoes, and then Signorini had jumped off a small boat wearing them and stomped up onto the beach. The 2 men were well-known practical jokers at the time.
Hey, pull my finger.
In fact, when Sanderson had first contacted the police chief of Clearwater, the chief had recommended Sanderson speak with Al Williams about the footprints.
Talk to Al. Don't pull his finger.
So how could a professional naturalist like Sanderson have been fooled by such an obvious hoax? According to researcher Daniel Loxton, there's a very simple explanation. Sanderson hadn't been fooled at all. Looking over Sanderson's original notes and correspondence, Loxton noted that Sanderson was fairly convinced the entire thing had been a hoax when he investigated in the late 1940s. The eyewitnesses had almost certainly seen manatees, which are large gray animals that float around near the surface of the water and are known to lurk about the Clearwater area. The story that Sanderson had seen the monster from a plane wasn't even mentioned in his original notes. On his radio show at the time, Sanderson had said that, "I'm personally quite satisfied that the tracks were not made by an animal. It was a man with very big feet, artificial feet." So then why the change of heart by the late 1960s when Sanderson published his findings and declared the culprit to be a giant penguin? If Loxton's research is correct, it was less a change of heart and more a change of wallet. In the 2 decades between Sanderson's original investigation and his book, he had switched from being a naturalist to being a supernaturalist, promoting claims such as living dinosaurs, the abominable snowman, time travel, water witching, giants, the Bermuda Triangle, ESP. But it wasn't evidence that convinced him to change his ways. It was the marketing possibilities. In a proposal for the book, he wrote, "The basic idea here is to cash in on the general public's sense of humor. Science is supposed to be the big thing, but it has become terribly unpopular. It seems that in the marketplace of ideas, pushing interesting hoaxes has an advantage over promoting tedious truth."